you going to watch, or are you going to monitor for me? Yes?
Yeah.
Hey, it's on.
Huh?
It's on.
Oh, okay.
But you're going to monitor. You're going to moderate so you can kick people out and stuff.
I'll like go get my computer.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. So can you guys, okay, Sherry can hear me. Okay, yes. Okay, good. So I'm broadcasting from my phone. So things are different as usual when I'm on the phone. So, hello. Hello. Whoops. I just jacked up my camera shot here. Hold on. Okay. I have a very high-tech setup going on here. The camera could go suddenly south. If it does, I'll have to fix it. Oh, it's good to see you guys. Hey, Ruth. Liz and Jean. Sherry, Bonnie. Hi, Dorothy, Candy. No, we're not in the studio. We are in the kitchen. Hi, Angie. I thought you said something. Hey, Riri. And Jean. Okay, so far, that's who I see. Good to have you guys here. Thanks for joining me. I'm broadcasting. Hey, Dawn. Welcome, welcome. I'm recording on my phone, which is straight ahead, right? Straight ahead. And then I'm over here watching the chat on my iPad, so things are a little different. Anyway, it's good to have you guys here. Thanks for being here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sweet petals, and I don't know whether it actually shows in the description box or not. I tried to set it so it would be. There is a link to the recipe, but I don't know whether it made it into the description box or not. If not, I'll add it after the stream's over with. So any hoot. There will be a link if you want it. Hi, Kate. You don't care about the techie stuff. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you don't care about techie stuff, because this is so far from tech. So far from tech. And I don't think my technical person is around. Hi, Becky. It was fun watching you today. I got so tickled. Becky was doing Christmas stuff this morning. At one point, she says, now you don't want me to be like Barb Owen or something, because she gets all soppy, and I do that too or something. It just made me laugh. Hi, Bev. Merry Christmas to you all the way over in Australia. That was so funny, Becky, because I had scrolled back and was watching, a few minutes before, before you were actually live, before live time, real time, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I'm too tired to make any sense. Anyway, it was just so funny. It was just so funny because I was not expecting my name to show up. And I just got so tickled. Anyway, Hi, Dana. Good to see you. Clausman is, he is moderating for me. He is doing that. I don't know. I don't think I can set up another moderator, so, and I don't think Race is here right now. But he might be. That's right, Becky. It's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault. That's what makes me emotional. That's right. Okay, mute your computer,
I will.
please.
Get my earbuds.
Okay, thanks. Ray seems like he's doing great. He's so excited about Christmas, I think. Hey, Tracy. Tracy, I got your card. Thank you so much. River City. River, tell me your name again, because I forgot it already. It just slipped out right out of my head. Is it Deborah? Oh, that's great, Dawn. Christmas is great. It's been an unusual year, though, hasn't it? Okay, Riri, thanks for joining us. So I'm going to make, I know you can't see my face. I'm going what's UGG? Dawn, what's UGG? Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sweet petals. I'm used to having you see my face, but you're not going to see it tonight unless I actually tip up the camera. Oh, this year. Well, yeah, that goes without saying, doesn't it? See, I've already blipped it out of my head. Deborah's River City. Okay, thank you. Gonna sleep late tomorrow. That's cool. Yep, you do have to separate Christmas from everything else, don't you? Cat's might be up at 5:30. Yep, it happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sweet petals, and sweet petals are going to be made in this big old bowl, and then I'm going to do something else while the dough is rising. So we're going to get started. Hi, Annette. Only a week left. Good for you. Hi, Amber. You win $15 on lottery tickets tonight? Well, cool, Angie. That's great. Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the recipe. It's not hard. And this is what the recipe looks like when you print it out, you know, depending on what size font you use and stuff, but this is how it's laid out. So it's not a complex recipe. If you want it, you're welcome to it. It comes, the dough itself, the recipe for the dough that I use comes from this book right here. This is an old book, old book now. Hey, Rhonda. And this is the actual recipe itself in here. I don't know if this book is still available or not. Anyway, it's an old book from the 70s. Yeah, it's got some great recipes in it. Anyway, that is where it comes from, and I gave her credit up on the top of the recipe. So if the link, like I said, if the link didn't show up in the description box, I will correct that after the stream. Okay, so first things first. Hi, Liz. It's not complicated. It's not. It's not. It's in big print. It's in large print. Okay. The first thing is it does require yeast, and so I'm going to put half a cup of water in this cup right here. Half a cup of water, and then I'm going to warm it up so that it's a little warmer than lukewarm. So I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Did you get on okay? Are you on?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you'll probably see me walking around and stuff, but I'm over at the microwave heating up a little bit of water. Yeah, I have to get the water to the right temperature, so that's what I was doing, is just warming it up. And it takes 2 packages of yeast. I'm using Platinum Superior baking yeast. I've never used this before. Don't know how it'll do. I'm assuming it'll be fine. So the water's heated up to a little warmer than lukewarm. And then I just mix the yeast in, and I mix it in with a fork. That's the easiest thing I've found to mix it up. So if you have questions, put them in all caps, and I'll try and catch them. Hello, Hottie Popo. Hi, Tink. I know, it's a new shirt though, Ruth. It's a new flannel shirt. New this year. You'll always know it's me because I wear plaid shirts all the time, just because that way if I scum them up, they don't look so bad. They're not quite so obvious. I splattered orange paint on my shirt that I wore the most from last year. That was lovely. It looked like I splattered blood on it. It was orange paint. No kidding. That book is available new. That recipe book. That's crazy. Is Betty here too? Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming. Okay, so while that is proofing, because it'll get bubbly and stuff, we're just going to let it sit there and do its thing. The next thing I have to do is warm up buttermilk. So another little container, and I have a couple of half pints of buttermilk. Did you get the chat? Did you get the chat?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. I usually buy this in a quart container, and then half of it goes to waste. So this time I paid a little bit more and bought 2 smaller containers, because then it's the right amount. Look at me thinking. Close to the right amount anyway. I'm going to rinse out these cartons just a wee bit. So these are called sweet petals because of the way that they're shaped. And there's absolutely no redeeming nutritional value about these. Nothing nutritionally saving grace about these. They just taste good, that's all. I'll be right back. And then you need 1/4 of a cup of butter. I'm sorry, 1/2 cup. Listen to me. I can't even read my own recipe. 1/2 cup of melted butter, which is a stick. And it's butter. It's really butter. Yeah, cornbread made with buttermilk, I'm sure would be good. We don't even eat that, so it doesn't help me. I'm gonna heat this, melt this in the microwave too. The trickiest part about doing this is getting everything to the right temperature, because you can't have it too hot. If it's too hot, you end up killing the yeast. So it's easy, it's better to just kind of sneak up on it. Just sneak up on it. Hardcover new on Amazon is over $800. Don't buy that, Becky. I don't care how much you want it. Don't buy that. Don't buy that book for $800. Don't do it. That's so true, Tracy. Butter is the secret to happiness. So true. So true. And then I'm going to use a little bit of sugar. 4 tablespoons of sugar. So I'll get that ready. And salt. And a little bit of baking soda. So those, I'm going to get those ready. Sometimes when you heat up buttermilk, it curdles. I'm not sure whether you can see that or separates or whatever. You don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Trying to get this where you guys can see into the bowl. I think you can kind of see it. And this is my bowl that I use mostly for making bread once a year. And that's truly the truth. I don't do this but once a year. If I made it more than once a year, I'd be the size of a small town or a large town, depending on how much I ate. Hey, Laura. Okay, once the stuff is at the right temperature, we're good. So you can see that's just the buttermilk in there. The yeast is doing its thing. It's proofing, so it's bubbling. You can kind of see that it's bubbling, so we know it's alive. That's a good sign. And then I have flour. The kind of flour that I usually like to use is this is what I usually use, the King Arthur all-purpose flour. So that's usually what I use. This is an old family recipe that my recollection is that my mother started this tradition. At one point she told me that her mother started it. I really don't know for certain, because the same recipe is in a Pillsbury cookbook, an old Pillsbury cookbook. So I can't, I don't know how that recipe would have gotten in the old Pillsbury cookbook. I'll show it to you as soon as I get the butter. butter a wee bit hot. So I'm gonna let it cool off a minute. So this old cookbook is where the recipe, my first recollection of the recipe is in this. I'll show it to you if I can find it. But I do remember my mother saying that her mother had made these. I don't know. Beats me. You know how stories change over time. Can you see that? See if I can hold it a little bit better. See where it says Sweet Petals and the picture of it down here. So I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I changed it to using the buttermilk bread recipe because I really like the buttermilk. Ooh, I got this butter nice and toasty, so we're gonna have to let this cool off before I put the yeast in with it. I can tell you that. I'm getting everything the right temperature is the trickiest part of this whole thing. Trickiest part of the whole thing, because you can't kill the yeast. If you do, it's over. It's over. All right, when in doubt, stick your finger in it. Oh, that's fine. It's fine. We're in good shape. We're in good shape. Okay, so can you see how it looks? So that's just buttermilk and butter. Into the buttermilk and butter, I'm going to put the sugar, which is 4 tablespoons of sugar. So I hope you guys are having a good Christmas Eve. The sugar makes the dough a little bit sweeter and gives the yeast something to grow on. My sugar is a little bit lumpy here. So 4 tablespoons of sugar. I don't know if my chat stopped or what. I'm just going to put a test in here. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, 4 tablespoons of sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt. So 2 teaspoons of salt. This is kosher salt because it's what I like. And 1/4 of a teaspoon, just a tiny little bit of baking soda. So that's baking soda. So just, I'm sorry, this is probably really loud. So just 1/4 of a teaspoon, it's just a tiny little bit of baking soda. Is CJ here? Hi CJ. You're enthralled. Oh, that's cool, Amber. I'm glad you have tomorrow off. That's great. So that's what it looks like. Okay. It's hard to get this in a position where you guys can really see and so that I can tell you can see, but it's just a kind of a batter. And the yeast is nice and alive, so I'm going to put it in. I'm making sure that my other liquid things aren't aren't too hot. So anyway, the origin of or the tradition of this recipe and all of that, I'm not really sure in my family where it started. My mother at one point, like I said, swore it started with her mother. I don't know. I truly don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter to me. If you have any lumps in it, if you use a whisk, it helps to get those out. So far all we've done is the yeast and water and buttermilk and butter, sugar, salt, and baking soda. That's it. And then we go to flour. And that's that. Hi, Chris. Yep, sweet petal time. Okay, so good enough. Now it's time to start the flour. And so I usually put in the flour 1 cup at a time. I'm gonna cut the top off of my bag here. Otherwise it's too irritating. And I end up with flour everywhere. So let's cut off the lid, cut off the top. So because this is a yeast dough, I'm gonna just work out of this one. Because it's a yeast dough, it has to rise. The dough has to rise twice. Now, fun fact, Race is making sweet petals tonight at some point. We've already had the discussion, and Isabel says that we are having a bake-off. And Race keeps saying, no, we're not. She keeps saying, yes, you are. It's like she's not even hearing it, so I have to laugh. I don't know how it's a bake-off if you can't taste each other's end result, do you? So I'm just going to put in, I kind of keep track of the flour. It usually takes somewhere around 8 cups of flour, but it just depends on how much liquid there is, how wet the batter was to start with. So anyway, he called me this afternoon. He was at the store buying yeast and all the other ingredients. And so he was asking me what kind of yeast to get. He's a very good cook. And I don't know that he's ever made these completely from scratch. If you want the shortcut, you go to the store and you buy the yeast. I don't know if you can still get them. I forgot the brand now. Somebody here will know what the brand is. You could buy, starts with an R, rolls, and that, you know, they're ready and all you have to do is thaw them out and let them rise. Dinner rolls. I forgot, what is that brand? Becky, do you know what the brand is? Starts with an R. Can't remember. Goodness. Anyway, you can thaw those out, and instead of making your own dough, you can do everything with that. You just cut the rolls into pieces and make the cinnamon sugar and butter mixture and make them. Hey, Janet. But boy, I cannot remember. Is it Roland's? Okay, so that's 3 cups of flour. Oop, and I just slopped it on my front. On my good flannel shirt. Oh no. So you can see it's still very battery. So you have to go until it gets too much for the whisk, which we're just about there. It's a great idea, and they taste good to use a shortcut. Or, you know, if there was bread dough, frozen bread dough, you could do that too. Once it's too much for the whisk, then you go to the wooden spoon. Rhodes, that's what it is, Candy. That's right, Rhodes. I was close, but no cigar. Yeah, it's Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S. I haven't done that in so long. It completely escaped me. So once you get to the point where it's still kind of batter-like, then I slow down on putting it all in at once. And then I just kind of add it, you know, bit by bit. I have done it with part whole wheat flour, or there's another flour that I think King Arthur still does, this brand, and it's called 50/50, and it's 50 white flour and 50 whole wheat flour. And I've done it with that. Not all. You can only do so much whole wheat flour, and then you have to include the white flour. This is not good for you. I'm just telling you. It tastes great, but it's not good for you. Hi, Beth. Okay, Amber, good to see you. Sweet Petals are a, I'll show you the picture. I will show you the picture. Now, this is a black and white picture. So this is, and this is from an old recipe book. But do you see that? So it's like a sweet roll that looks in a flower shape. So it's kind of like a cinnamon roll, a differently created cinnamon roll. And it's a family tradition. And I only do them on Christmas Eve because I don't dare do them any other time. Not that they're not good, but they certainly aren't good for you. So if anybody here chooses to do Sweet Petals, I take no responsibility. You can't blame me. Now I've lost track of how many cups of flour. I think this is cup number 5, but I'm not sure. Kind of doesn't matter. You just go till it's the right consistency. Hello, Diane. I know, it is delicious. It is super delicious. Okay, so you can see how it's now forming more of a dough than a batter, right? You can see it? It's still super wet, so you got to keep going at least probably another cup of flour. You get to a point where you can't stir anymore in, and it's still a little bit wet. That's when you start putting it on the counter and kneading it on the counter. But I'm telling you, if anybody here decides they want to do this, you cannot come back to me and you cannot say, oh, those were so good, but they made me feel so terrible the next day. Okay? I'm not taking responsibility for that. You will get your workout making bread if you are not familiar with, you know, if it's not something you do all the time, you will work yourself into a sweat. Just saying. So mostly I level the cups of flour off just so that I can kind of keep track a little bit. Just saying, and hello to anybody that I missed. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to celebrate Christmas Eve. While this dough is rising, I'm going to make another thing, another family traditional recipe that I have not made in years, but it was something that we always had when I was a kid, and oh, I loved it so much. And so I'm going to make that while this is rising. And then if it's not raised enough yet, speaking of which, I'm going to turn the oven on low so it will warm up. It's good to, when I raise the dough, a lot of times I'll do laundry and I'll have it sitting, the bowl sitting on top of the dryer, but I didn't do that this time. Anyway, I have some other things that I can show you if we need to fill time, which is entirely possible. When I got up this morning, it was 15 degrees here. Now, mind you, earlier this week it had been 60. That is very typical. It's typical of the area where we live for it to be unpredictable temperatures. But to go from 60 to 15, that's a little extreme. And tomorrow, the wind chill here is supposed to be sub-zero. And then by early next week, we're supposed to be back in the 50s again. Okay, so we're getting more to the dough state. See how it's holding together more. I'm going to try to work in the rest of this cup of flour. And then we'll start kneading it on the counter. Because it gets to a point where it just will not take any more by stirring it. And I think we're there. Okay. It's crazy, isn't it? Just crazy weather. Crazy weather. It sure was cold when I went out earlier today. Whew. Freeze the hair off your head. It wasn't blowing too much, so that was the only saving grace. Okay. So what I'm going to do, consolidate bags of flour first of all. All right, in case I don't know where I put my wedding ring, it's right here. Okay. Took my ring off so I don't scum it up with.
I got it.
You got where it is? Okay. So what I'm going to do is get another cup of flour ready to go. Raining? Dawn, are you kidding? Okay. So now what happens is I put some flour here. I'm going to attempt to rearrange the camera here in just a second. I think you can see it if I just do like this for a minute. And then I just have a plastic dough scraper to get it out and put it into the flour like so. So you guys are, I know you can tell, you're in my kitchen. My kitchen is in the lower level of my house. Those of you that were here when I decorated the Christmas tree, this is the same level as the Christmas tree, which, bless its heart, has dropped, I'd say 50% of its needles. It's a good thing those ornaments were paper that I put on it, because the poor thing. The poor, poor thing. Okay, if you have any questions, be sure you put them in caps. and I'll try to catch them. Always drama, huh, Don? Now, this is what I use. Let me see if I can rearrange the camera a little bit without making everything fall apart. Oh, it looks like that's going to work. Okay, if everything stays. I'm in a very precarious recording situation here. Okay, Angie, good to see you. Merry Christmas. So here's what we're gonna do. Take my watch off so I don't get flour and gunk on it. I use a dough scraper because it's too sticky to start with. And I just fold it over like this until it's where I can handle it. Usually doesn't take very many turns of the dough scraper, but it will take a few. Yeah, my poor little Christmas tree. Oh, goodness, the poor thing. You can't look at it, but what it drops needles. It's hanging in there. I was hoping it would hang with us until New Year's weekend, but I don't know. I don't know. Why is it that your nose always itches when you're doing stuff like this? Why is that? Then you knead this dough until I put it in here, I think. No, I didn't put it. It just says smooth and satiny in the recipe. There's an actual measurement. I'll look it up. It's in the Mary Goopser book. So you know if it's been kneaded enough. Anyway, you just knead it, K-N-E-A-D. Yeah, knead it until it just magically becomes petals that look like a flower. That's right. It's magic. Now, at this point, you don't put too much flour into it. You put the flour a little bit at a time. Try to keep it off your iPad and your other electronic things. Hi, Arlene. Do you need more angels, Barb? No, I have plenty of angels, Ruth, and I was going to put them on this little tree. I showed them. I was going to put them on this little tree. This little tree, before I got them on there, started dropping needles. It's like, it can barely support the paper ones I put on. Everything is super lightweight, and it can barely support those. Poor thing. Poor little thing. It's going to look like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree before this is over with, I'm afraid. But those little ornaments are so beautiful that Ruth made. She made me a whole choir. They're beautiful. I showed them during the stream where I was decorating. I fully intended to put them on this tree. And before, I'm not kidding, before I got them on, it started dropping needles like crazy bananas. Thank goodness for Christmas. I know. I have a fake tree. You know why I used a real tree? Because I was too lazy to crawl under the steps where our storage is to dig for the fake one. I should have. I've had many artificial trees. I don't know. I was just kind of in the mood for a real one. And it's been nice to have this one. But it must have really been dry before I got it. Poor little thing. Now, you'll know that it's getting to about the right stage when you can knead it on a countertop like this, or if you're working on a marble slab, or if you're working on a pastry mat, any of those things, it doesn't really matter which one. But you'll know you're getting to the right stage when you can knead it and it's not sticking to the surface anymore. See how it's not sticking down here anymore? So we're getting there. I hope you guys can see this okay. I need to shed a few clothes. The older you get, the smaller the tree. We used to put up so many trees. Ugh. We would decorate for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't do that so much anymore, but then I'm really busy with how to get creative, and I try to put up lots of extra things in December for the members and with streaming and all of that. Plus we're working on the Beyond Mandala Madness course. I'm getting that whipped into shape. We should have it ready to roll out the first part of the year. So it's a super busy time. I sent the boxes to our son and granddaughter for Christmas on the 11th. Sent them on the 11th. They arrived at their spots on, our son got his on the 14th. My granddaughter got hers, I think it was on the 16th. Our son sent a box to us on the 14th. It still hasn't come. Priority mail. Still hasn't shown up. The mail is cray cray. So see how pretty it's looking? Look how nice it looks. Can you see that? See how nice it looks? So it's beginning to look satiny and smooth. I don't set a timer for it. I suppose I should, but I just knead it till it seems like it's the right consistency, and then I always look it up in the book, because I can't remember, because I don't do it often enough, how to know, how you know when it's been kneaded enough. It is beauteous, isn't it? Yeah, really, Becky. I was so glad that our son's boxes arrived. I was like, oh, so glad. My granddaughter's already opened her box. I told her it wasn't really for Christmas. So we did FaceTime and she opened it up. I sent her one of the satin pillowcases that I made, and some homemade granola, and one of those little color explorations that I did for the last stream hop that the Mariotier invited me to do. So see, if you use the Rhodes frozen roll dough, you can skip this part, all of this. But I really like the way it feels. I like how it feels to knead the dough. Yeah, super frustrating is so correct, Chris. But you know, if people get upset, there just isn't anything you can do about it. Hopefully, people will be a bit graceful. All right, let's take a look. Let me look it up in the book. And see, it's not sticking to my hands anymore. So That works out really well. Okay, so there it is. See, it's like a baby's butt. Except you wouldn't slap your baby's butt. Alright, I'm putting my ring back on. Okay. So let me find the thing about the kneading. Okay. That's the rising part. You'd think I would just like dog-ear the page, wouldn't you? But that'd be way too easy. Way too easy. Kneading. Oh, it's on the same place with the rising one. Okay. Knead until the dough is smooth, satiny, and bouncy with tiny bubbles or blisters underneath the skin. Sounds kind of gross, right? With a forefinger, punch the dough. If it pops right back, then you have kneaded enough. Okay, ready? So, you see how it comes right back? I don't know if you can see that. I know the light's kind of blowing it out. See if I can get. Anyway, it's done. Trust me, it's done. So I need to prepare the bowl here, so give me just a second. I'm gonna scrape my counter. So I'm gonna prepare my bowl. I have to wash it out and get it ready to go. And so I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Okay, one of the cool things about a big old stoneware bowl like this that I'm using is that it retains the heat really nicely. So if you fill it with hot water and let it sit a little bit, it warms up the bowl, and that will make it rise a little bit faster. So what I do is just wash out the bowl. And then, all right, I'm gonna readjust the camera again. Then what I do is I take a stick of butter, and if the bowl is warm, this works like a treat. And then I just grease the bowl with a stick of butter that I've just unwrapped a little bit. Just like so. Good enough, good enough. And then you just take the dough and give it a nice top so it's nice and rounded. Put that in to the butter and then flip it over. and round it up like that. See? And there we go. It, voila, is ready to rise. So then I just take plastic wrap. Ooh, I hope I got enough plastic wrap to do this tonight. That's one thing I didn't buy. I'm going to have to be frugal with the plastic wrap because I think I'm about out here. And I put the plastic wrap over it, but I let it have a little bit of airspace on each, like, each side here. So this is open and this is open. So it has a little room to breathe. Don't want to suffocate. Don't want to suffocate. Hi, Deborah. I inspired you to start making meditation art dolls out of paper clay. Oh, cool. That's great. And then what I do is just take a towel and put it over it. And then I'm going to put it in a warm place to rise. Oops, I put that too high. So what I did was I warmed up the oven on warm. I turned it to warm. Warmed it up, and then I've turned it off. So the oven is completely off, and I've propped the door open with a stick. So there's a, you can't see it. My oven is, hold on here. Where am I? There it is. Here's my oven door. So I've just propped a stick in the door to keep it so it's open a little bit. Okay, so back to its precarious perch here. Okay, I think it may stay. I hope so. Alrighty. And then it will rise probably an hour. And that's why I thought we'd make something else. And then I also have some cookbooks and stuff I can show you if you want to see them. So this is not your typical stream at my place. Oh, you have a bread proofing setting in your oven. You must